Hello, and welcome to today's webinar, How and Where to Find Your Dream Job in 2018, hosted by the International Association of Women, IAW, and Professional Diversity Network. We'd like to have a special welcome to our members joining us today. For those of you who are not familiar, IAW is a global, in-person, and online professional networking organization that provides nearly 1 million women the forum, education, and services to thrive in an interconnected world. IAW members have diverse backgrounds, beliefs, perspectives, lifestyles, and a common bond, their ability to succeed. Founded in Chicago in 2017, IAW is a division of Professional Diversity Network, a global network that provides professionals worldwide with access to networking and employment opportunities. Before I introduce our speakers today, my favorite thing, housekeeping. Everyone's on mute. Questions, there'll be plenty of time at the end for questions. You can submit them on your sidebar of your control. Depending on the volume of questions we get, we may not be able to answer everything. If this happens, we will try and write a blog post around the questions or answer via email. The number one question we always get is, yes, recordings of the webinar will be available and emailed after the session. We will also send a PDF of this deck today. Well, enough about us. Today we have two amazing speakers, Maribel De La Rosa, who has been with Professional Diversity Network since November of 2005, where she works with PDN Strategic Partnerships and Client Services Departments. She's going to be sharing some amazing information about who's hiring and how to get noticed. Now, our first speaker up today is Emily Kapit. And for those of you who've heard Emily in the past, you're in for a real treat. She's a 3-time certified master resume writer and head career strategist for Refresh Your Step. Emily is an amazing career expert, and her work has been published on Forbes and and she presents on numerous podcasts and presents all around the country. Emily will speak first, and then she'll be followed by Maribel. And as I said, we'll have plenty of time for Q&A. Well, enough about my talking. Take it away, Emily.
Oh, thank you so much, Melissa, and thank you so much to the IAW for having me here. Really looking forward to today's presentation, as well as hearing what Maribel has to say. And we'll go ahead and get started. I'm talking today about how and where to find your dream job in 2018. I have a lot to say on the topic, and so we'll jump right into it. Now, I want to tell you that my perspective here will be more strategic in talking about how to prepare for looking for your dream job in terms of taking a step back, thinking about what you want to do, preparing strategically with your pattern of excellence, your accomplishments and measurables, getting that integrated into your professional documents, as well as aligning that with what your actual your structured job search will be, and thinking about how to effectively network and interview. So all of this is very much tied into how you will look for and land that dream job in 2018. I'll give you a little bit of information about myself, just so you know that I actually have some sort of credibility in this world. So I'll start with that very briefly. Like I said, and I thank you so much for the wonderful introduction from Melissa. Emily Kapit, I'm a triple certified master resume writer and industry-leading career strategist. I and my team, we work with clients all over the world on crafting very high-level resumes and LinkedIn profiles, as well as working with them on job search strategy, career advisory, and of course, the interview side and networking tactics and all of the above. So I did not actually graduate college thinking I was going to be a resume writer and career strategist. For those of you who have done that, that's awesome. That was not my path, though. My path, I actually started out thinking I was going to be a journalist. That's what I studied, specifically broadcasting. When I moved up to New York and started working at NBC and ABC in the city, I loved what I was doing, but was not such a fan of the toxic culture. So my brilliant move was to go into investment banking and work over at Lehman Brothers during the good years. Still kind of a toxic culture even during that time, but I worked on the PR side as well as recruiting and found that while it was not exactly what I wanted to do, I was really intrigued by the number of people who didn't like what they were doing and wanted to find their way out, wanted to find their way into a dream job, but didn't have the support for getting there. I wanted to help. I wanted to be part of the solution. So I left and I went back to school in 2007 and actually started working towards my master's. When Lehman filed for bankruptcy, I was still doing my master's, and all my old colleagues from Lehman were saying, "You helped me then, help me now." So I did. Finished the master's, launched the firm, and actually started working primarily at that time doing more career advisory for my peer set, those in their 20s and 30s, but very quickly became known as someone who did a lot of great work for all levels and sectors. And then I also became known for the resume piece. Knowing how to write resumes, there's a real strategy to it. And because I knew how to write in general, I figured, well, I'm good at it. Might as well make that a centerpiece for what it is that we do. And so what I ended up doing was relaunching the business, working in more of the resume piece along with everything else, capitalizing on LinkedIn because that was growing, expanding our services, and then eventually adding a great team of writers who are with me today. And so one of the main things that my team and we talk about as far as job search philosophy with everyone that works with us, it's not about the number of jobs that you apply to, it's the quality of the job description, the quality of the job search, and the strategy around it. We also want to make sure that everybody understands the importance of identifying your achievements, looking back at what you have done, that pattern of excellence, and then thinking about looking forward what you want to do more of. There's a real process we have in place for that, and it makes a big difference. And then, of course, we want to align your goals with your achievements and with those professional documents so that your job search and your networking and your interviews are all working in tandem. That is the path to dream job success. So let's go ahead and keep talking. Now, a lot of clients, when they come to me, they are either starting a job search or about to start a job search or in the middle of one. And they are either pre-burned out or they are totally burnt out because their thought is, I have to apply to all the jobs. I can't stop. I can't think. I just need to apply. And why am I redoing my resume for every single job? No. Take a step back. Take a deep breath. And I want you to give yourself the time and the space to think through what you actually want to do. Putting the time in on reflecting on your background and goals and getting your achievements together, which we'll touch on here, but get more into in the next phase. Giving yourself that time and space is a small investment of time with a maximum impact. So to everyone I say, wherever you are in this process, take a break from applying to roles online or at all. Give yourself some space. Reflect on what it is that you actually want to be doing moving forward. Where do you want to be? What's your ideal location? What level do you want to be at? What sector do you want to be in? Have you thought about this? Please do. And for some people, you might want to stay at the same level. You might want to move up a level. You might want to stay in the same sector. You might be open to other sectors. But start putting some real thought around it so that there's a little bit more of a structured strategy in there. Continue thinking. Are you looking to make more money? And most of people would say, yes, of course, I want to make more money. But some people actually will say no, and I hear this more often than you would think. People will say, I would love to make more money, but I'm thinking of switching into a different kind of industry and know that that may not be possible, but I'm okay with the same amount. And so it's a strategic move, and it makes sense for short-term and long-term. Think about flexibility. Are you a new parent and want to spend more time with your child at home, and you need some part-time work or some more flexible work schedule? Those are all possible. Do you want telecommuting in there? Do you want to make sure you can work your 40 to 50 hours a week, but not all have it be Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, 9 to 6? These are real opportunities out there. What other benefits do you want to have in mind as you are thinking about your next role? And then at this point, I want you to start thinking about some key achievements. Just the last 2 to 3 that pop up from your most recent role, nothing beyond that at this point, because we'll get more into it shortly. And think about, what did you most like about it? What did you most dislike about those projects? And what do you want to capitalize on moving forward? Now, those people who know me know that I like a really good pun, and my last name is Kapit. So typically I'd spell that with a K, and we do in my company. But for you guys, I kept it normal. But the point is the same. Think about what you actually want to do going forward that tie into your achievements. What do you want to capitalize on moving forward? And that's when you can start aligning your job search with what you actually want to do and tie in the achievements at every step. Of course, there's that one other point. What are your obstacles that will hinder your growth? Think about those and be honest with yourself. They're different for every person, but typically out there. Jot your responses down. Please do keep track of this. And then from there, I want you to spend more time on what we call the pattern of excellence. This is what I think of as the nexus for your job search, looking backwards at what you've done and thinking strategically through what you want to do as you prepare to update your professional documents. Think about your job search strategy, think about your networking, and think about interviews. Your pattern of excellence, what you've done and how well you've done it, matters at every step along the way. Truly the power behind your updated job docs and search. So you do want to think about what that pattern of excellence is. This is applicable to everyone, from students to CEOs, from employees to entrepreneurs. I do have clients occasionally come to me saying, I got nothing to share with you as an achievement. We start talking, floodgates open. Happens every time. I guarantee no matter where you are in your career, you have achievements. And it's not just what you've done, but how well have you done it. It's not just numbers, but it's also qualitative. So think about the impact that you have had, what wouldn't have happened without you, and start tracking it. At Refresher Step, we have a particular worksheet that our clients work with that helps them to gather this information. It becomes really helpful for my team and I as we craft their documents, but becomes absolutely integral to them as they prepare for interviews and negotiations and as they continue moving up in their careers. So however you need to put this down on paper or on a computer, just track it. And it's not about perfection. It's certainly important to keep in mind. And again, what do you want to capitalize on going forward? So once you have those achievements down, look back at them. Think about, I liked all of these different things that I've done in the last several years, but here are the key ones that I really enjoyed more of and want to do more of going forward. That will help you align your documents and your upcoming conversations. And again, the pattern of excellence, your accomplishments and your measurables, is the connection point between all of these different elements. So don't skimp on time here. Do spend that time gathering this information. All right, and then as we keep talking, this is when we're going to actually start updating our documents. Now, I did a webinar a couple of months ago for IAW on this very topic, how to create amazing resumes and cover letters. So I won't spend too much time on it today because we can send a link back out to that webinar as well as the ebook that went with it. We'll make sure we get that out to you guys, but I do want to talk on some of the major points. The first thing I want to say is if you look at the top of the screen, you'll see a 95% versus 5%, the formula for success and efficiency. This is really valid. No matter how great your documents are, and even if we craft them, we tell our clients this as well, your resume and your cover letter are always going to be essentially 95% done. They're mostly done. That last 5%, you can and should tweak and tailor per opportunity, whether it's an actual role you're applying for or a conversation you're going to have. You can always modify. There are key spots where you can modify, and I'll touch on that shortly. But I just want to mention that 95 to 5% rule. That rule is less applied to LinkedIn, but definitely for the resume and cover letter. You do want to make sure you have branding elements at the top of your document. These should indicate who you are, what level that you're at, the sector that you are in or want to be in, and some key differentiators. I'll show you on a slide next what that looks like for some people. They're always tailored per person, but I wanted to give you an idea. That's a point that you can modify per opportunity. Core competencies as well. That's something, that's the collection of keywords you typically see. They should include keywords and phrases for your particular level or sector, in addition to some soft skills that are transferable, really important to include there. They will help you get past the applicant tracking systems, that automatic software, but we want you to apply more to people, and people are expecting to see it. You can tweak that per opportunity. Your experience section will typically come next. You should go back as far as 10 to 12, upwards of 15 years, depending on how long you have been working. Earlier work should be abridged, and you will want to make sure that if it is abridged, you still have some achievements in there. Again, pattern of excellence, but less specific, less detailed. The work that you show in more detail, again, that last 10 to 12, upwards of 15 years, definitely focus on those achievements. We typically do chrono-functional hybrids that will speak to what your key functionalities are and tie in those achievements, but still maintaining that reverse chronological order. I'll show you what that looks like in an upcoming slide. Of course, you want to include your education, whatever that might be for you, and any additional info that is relevant. That information may include professional certifications, languages that you know, IT knowledge, if you run a marathon in every continent, whatever it might be. there's definitely an opportunity to include additional info. Okay, so here I want to show you just one sample just to get some visual out there for you guys. You will notice here that there is some shading, there is some bolding, there is some color here. We tend to keep our documents pretty conservative regardless of level and sector, but we also know that everyone's used to looking at information on screens these days, and so we try to make sure our documents are easy to organize for the brain. And so shading and color used conservatively is actually really helpful and shows and allows the brain to quickly organize that information. So you will notice that here. You will see that we have some branding elements up at the top. We have a quote here that encapsulates this particular individual, along with, as you see, senior technology leader and business strategist. Underneath that, a couple more phrases. Somebody, whoever, and this is a real client of ours, but Esther Reese is not the real name. This person knows that he can actually tailor it per opportunity. If you look further down, we have a profile that has some high-level sentences and then some key achievements. We don't always set it up in quite that way, but that made sense for this person. If you look a little bit further down, core competencies, another key spot to tweak and modify. Moving quite along here, this is a different resume. It's actually not Esther Reese's resume. This is for someone who is in the very high-level pharmaceutical business development industry. You'll notice that we have those functionalities there. We have market penetration and then sales strategy and achievements. Those are the functionalities. Those bullets underneath are very achievement-oriented, and it's easy to tweak per opportunity, quickly and effectively, but definitely there. You'll also notice a chart in there. We don't typically do that for everyone. It doesn't apply to everyone in their role. I wanted to show you that as an option. Of course, it's a great visual and really makes the case that this person is, of course, accomplishment-oriented. All right, I want to talk quickly on cover letters before we need to keep moving forward. I want to give Maribel all her time. 95 to 5% rule still applies here. So again, you want to have a document that's mostly done that you can tailor per different opportunity. And then I will tell you that cover letters are starting to trend out. So you want to keep in mind that while you still need them today, they probably won't be around as much in the coming years. What we're seeing more of as a trend are e-notes. Those are typically toned down cover letters that you are in the body of an email. When you want to use an e-note, it's a great question people have from me all the time. If it's an introduction being made, you know the person already, or it's for an informational interview, an e-note's more appropriate. If it's for an actual opportunity you're going to apply to and they specifically ask for a cover letter, include the cover letter. Additional notes on cover letters: length, not long, less than a page. Make sure to include lots of white space, actually. How in-depth? Not terribly in-depth. You want to keep it more high level, and of course you want to keep it consistent with that pattern of excellence, calling out a few key things that are tied to that role or that particular sector opportunity. All right, so I could talk forever and a day about LinkedIn. I love LinkedIn, and I'm not even paid by them to say that. I really do genuinely like LinkedIn, and I know it's here to stay. So while I'm only going to be brief on this particular topic, if you want to hear more about it, let me know. We have a whole LinkedIn best practices conversation we can have with you that will help provide you tons of information. Here are the key things to take away right now. You need to be on LinkedIn. So love it or leave it, love it. Get used to it, not going anywhere. Be on there. Have a strong profile. And then if you want to think about, well, what about my content? Can I just take my awesome resume content and just duplicate that on LinkedIn? No. LinkedIn is a very, very different beast than the resume. It is at its core based on algorithms. The algorithms tied to LinkedIn are very different than what you would need on your resume. So you want to keep that in mind. Besides, if someone sees your LinkedIn profile first, then sees your resume, they're going to learn nothing new about you. The tone is also very, very different on LinkedIn. Resumes tend to be more formal. LinkedIn tends to be less formal. So you want to keep that in mind. You should be complimentary to you, still achievement-oriented, but just in a little bit of a different way. There's a lot more beyond the profile in terms of, you know, the actual job search function and applying for roles and using it for research and, of course, networking with people. So much beyond the profile, but start with having a strong profile. All right, we'll keep chatting. Once you've gotten to this point, you prepared yourself, you are ready with your next step goals, you have your achievement space info together, you have updated your documents, you may have already been putting together your job search strategy along the way, but now's the real time to do it. So you want to make sure it's a structured search for the win. Don't just release yourself and start applying to every single role out there. Start to think strategically, or continue to think strategically, because you would have been doing that to this point. What you want to think of this as now is a funnel. You want to think, okay, what are the sectors I want to be applying to? Maybe more than one sector, no more than 2 to 3. Let me start with what sectors am I thinking about, and then narrow it down a little bit. What are 3 to 5 companies per sector that you would love to target? And put that down, 3 to 5, and literally write it down. And then narrow it down even more. Who do I know who can make introductions for me to people at those companies? So you want to start thinking about who do you know at each organization and working your way in there. Now you'll notice, I'm not saying start applying for every role out there. I'm saying to start thinking more about connecting with people and building inroads to those organizations. It's less about if they have open roles and more about how companies will fill roles with who they know. You want to get to be known. Now, I know some people need a job right now, and so I understand needing to think about that and apply to more roles. But keep in mind, again, they're filling it with who they know, so you want to get to be known. And you want to start conversations. You want to start small with the number of conversations you have, because your goal is to have more conversations. Combos beget more convos. Track this information, see where it's leading you, and really what we're talking about here is networking. Networking like a pro. You're working your way up to that. And there's 2 different ways to network, online networking and offline networking, plus a bonus point that I do want to mention here. And again, this is less about applying and more about relationship building online and off. Quality of your connections over the quantity of people that you talk to, the quality of those conversations that you have. Your online network is pretty clear. LinkedIn, alumni groups, location and sector-specific groups, and other social media. I'm going to mention an app here in a minute. I'm going to want most of you guys, depending on where you live in the U.S., to write down. So be prepared to do that. But these particular online media options are great ways for you to know who's hiring and start leveraging your connections at these places and building inroads to those particular organizations. Again, research and relationship building, and when you're reaching out to people online, stay tactful, direct, and on message. And of course, offer to help people in terms of making connections for them. That app that I want you to write down, it's called Shaper. I've had friends and clients use this very successfully. And basically, it's S-H-A-P-R, by the way, leave out the E, S-H-A-P-R. This is essentially Tinder for professional networking. Now, I have been married for 1.5 million years, so I have never been on one of these kinds of online dating apps. But what I understand is it's very swipe-oriented, Tinder for professional networking, and it's location-specific. So if you are in New York City and you want a job in Boston, at some point when you're up in Boston, download Shaper and start seeing who's around at different organizations that you can connect with. Make those connections and try to have coffee. That's what it's there for. Definitely a great app to keep in mind. The whole point of these conversations online is to move them into the offline world, to move those online connections into the real world. Request to learn more information about people when you're talking to them, learn up here about their experiences, gain insight to the company, cultivate connections. The other opportunity you have out there are networking experiences such as in-person meetups and different in-person opportunities to talk with people. Again, asking people for more connections and information about where they work. Bonus point here, job descriptions are great research tools because you know what they're telling you? Who's hiring. So you can apply for the role, but then utilize that information to know who's hiring and reach out to people on LinkedIn and through other media. Really great way to know who's hiring, but don't just stop there with the application. Take it into the real world and really connect with direct people. Let them know that you applied. Okay, next point, here we go. All right, interviews. This is effective self-promotion. There are 2 different kinds of interviews, informational and job specific. Both are really, really useful. You, of course, are working your way up to this point. Now, I want to stop here for a second and tell you guys about an absolutely fabulous resource that everybody here can use. You'll actually see a picture of it in the top right-hand corner. That is a book called The Art of Self-Promotion. It's written by Debbie Stone, who did an absolutely wonderful webinar for IAW a few months ago. She is an invaluable resource as a career advisor, and also this book is unbelievable. I actually give this book to a lot of our clients and suggest it to just about everyone I talk to. It talks about how to effectively self-promote, the strategies around behind doing so in a myriad of different situations. Cannot emphasize enough how important and integral this book is, and will be a great complementary resource to you as you're doing this process. So again, The Art of Self-Promotion by Debbie Stone. Okay, going back to preparing for interviews, whether they're informational or job specific, do your research. Know the company that you're looking at, know the history of them, know the current news and events, know industry changes, go into it with that information. If it's job specific, and sometimes if it's not, practice any of your main responses out loud, especially the question, tell me about yourself. Practice what you're going to say out loud, but if it's job specific and you were looking at that job description, practice how you are going to speak to different questions that are going to align with what they're going to ask you. And do practice out loud, do practice with other people so that you can get feedback on that. Speak to your achievements and align them with the industry and the role. If it's informational, and certainly if it goes back to job as well, ask for additional insight with whomever you're speaking to. Why? Because you're going to get some pretty key information, and they're going to really feel like they're being heard and can share that information with you. Again, ask for additional insight on the industry and suggestions on other people to talk to. Both types of interviews, whether it's informational, job specific, learn to ask questions and listen. This is unbelievably important. And why? Because you're probably going to get a lot of great information that you can then respond to. So if you ask a question about what's coming down their pipeline and you hear something that is in your background too, you can speak to it and show them without specifically telling them that you would be a great asset for their organization. So definitely a key thing to do is ask questions and actually listen to the responses, preparing to respond in kind with your own info that parallels and ties into what they're looking for. All right, so moving forward, I want to give Maribel her time to speak. So again, I'm Emily Kapit. I was here to talk to you today about partnering with you on your success and how we do it. Don't forget to take that step back and reflect on what you actually want to do going forward. Identify your achievements and learn how to speak to them. Update your documents, resume, cover letter, and LinkedIn so it ties in with those achievements. Plan out your job search strategy. Focus down on sectors, companies, and people you truly want to talk to. Build inroads to those organizations through your network, and then use those job descriptions as research and interviews. Think of it as effective self-promotion, both informational and job specific. I'm Emily Kapit. I'll be around to answer questions after Maribel, and it's been a pleasure to speak with all of you today. Maribel, I will hand it over to you.
Thank you so much, Emily. A lot of wonderful information that you just provided to everyone. So like Melissa said in the beginning, my name is Maribel De La Rosa, and I work with Professional Diversity Network for it's been like 12 or 13 years now. And what Professional Diversity Network is, if for those who have never heard about us, we focus on diversity recruitment for various companies, and we are nationwide. Besides having Professional Diversity Network, we also have 7 affinity sites, a site for Latino professionals, African Americans, women, military, and their families, the LGBT community, Asian professionals, and people with disabilities. And then we also obviously partner up with IAW as well. So I'm here today to talk about, because we do work with our clients very closely, and I do want to highlight 6 particular companies that we know have an immediate need to increase their women and for their workforce. So I'll briefly go over each of these companies, give you a little bit of insight into them, the types of positions positions that they currently have available, because for the most part they do make hires nationwide, but we do have a couple of clients right now that are in specific areas only. But I do very much encourage everyone to visit the IAW website or Professional Diversity Network, where you can click on the Careers tab, and you'll be able to search for each of these companies on this site so that you can see all of their current positions that they are applying for. And just to make note, we do change out the positions on a nightly basis. So I do encourage you guys to perform your job searches, create your job alerts online so that you can stay up to date on their most recent career opportunities. Okay, so let's get started with the first company. So the first one we're going to talk about is Walgreens. I'm sure everyone is very familiar with this company. They have over 240,000 employees and over 8,100 locations in all 50 states. For Walgreens, they're constantly investing in tools and programs to help their employees grow and succeed in reaching their career goals. With one of these employees, or one of these programs includes Walgreens University, which is based in Illinois, but they do offer online programs which include training, leadership development, and career advancement sessions not for their team members across the board, wherever their location. They also have been named by Professional Women's Magazine as one of the top supplier of diversity programs for women, and this is key. So I do encourage you guys to visit not just obviously our careers pages, so where you could learn more information about the current job opportunities, but also visit the company's actual websites, especially their careers tabs, where they will normally have a section about life at that particular company, their initiatives, any awards or achievements that they've been recognized with, to give you a little bit more insight as to the company and to see how it would be like to have a career within that particular company. So with Walgreens in particular, they do have a variety of career opportunities across the board. So some of these jobs that they're currently hiring for include beauty consultants, customer service associates, pharmacy technicians, assistant store managers for their training program, and business process managers and supply chains. So like I said, these are some of their current job opportunities. You can always, again, go to the website so you could see the full list of jobs that they currently have available. For the next company, we're going to talk a little bit about PNC Bank. Now PNC strives to become a workplace that you can be proud of. They focus on teamwork, integrity, and quality of life as some of their values and initiatives that PNC invests in. They've been recognized as one of the best places for women and diverse managers to work in by Diversity MBA Magazine's 50 out of front companies for diversity leadership in 2017. They've also been recognized by the National Association for Female Executives in 2017 as the top 50 companies for executive women. And in 2016, they were recognized by Working Mother Magazine for the 100 best companies for working mothers. Similar to Walgreens, PNC has a variety of positions across the various states, and they're specifically looking for right now some business analytics, an asset management group, application developers, and quality assurance. The next company I'd like to highlight is the Kroger Company. The Kroger Company, they're one of the world's largest food retailers, and they're based in Cincinnati, Ohio. They've been recognized as one of America's most generous companies for their support of breast cancer research and awareness, Feeding America's Food Bank partners, military and their families, and more than 145,000 community organizations. Now, they have over 453,000 employees and over 2,700 retail food stores in 35 states. While they do have a variety of jobs available in their actual stores, they're particularly at this time looking for candidates in Kentucky and Illinois for their management training programs. And you could find more information about that particular program in Kentucky and Illinois on either the IAW website or Professional Diversity Network. The next company will be Latos. And many of you may not know this or may not be familiar with Latos, but Latos is a global leader in the integration and application of information technology, engineering, and science. They also offer resources for their professional development and learning programs along with flexible career paths for their employees. Now, for the most part, their current career opportunities are focused in the Midwest to the East Coast, and they're currently hiring for project control engineers, program managers, quality engineers, systems administrators, accounting analysts, data management, and also research associates. The next company is Dignity Health. They are the 5th largest health system in the nation and the largest hospital provider in California. And they're headquartered in San Francisco, where they currently employ over 60,000 caregivers and staff in 21 states. Dignity Health has 39 hospitals in California, Nevada, and Arizona. So these are the 3 particular states that they're currently hiring in, and their current career paths that they're looking for candidates are home health and hospice, imaging, information technology, lab sciences, nursing, pharmacy, and therapy. Okay, and then the last company that I do want to highlight is NextEra Energy. And they, I know particularly from the 5 other companies that I've mentioned, have a big hiring push in 2018 to increase their pipeline of women professionals. So I do highly encourage everyone to check them out if this fits your lane. So NextEra Energy is the world's largest producer of renewable energy from the wind and sun. They are headquartered in Juno Beach, Florida, and they have over 15,000 employees in 24 states. They do have a section on their website, especially their career site, called Getting Hired, where their recruiters listed a couple resume writing tips along with a short video for job seekers on how they can tweak their resume for their particular job opportunities. And they also use a pre-employment testing program to help identify qualified candidates. And they actually have a sample employment test available online for anyone who's interested in working at NextEra. So I think that's a great tool for job seekers if this is kind of in your career path. They're currently hiring in 18 states, and some of the positions that they have available right now are project managers, project manager development, business management analysts, wind technicians, senior sales representatives, inside sales, customer service representatives, business system analysts, and then they also have a finance leadership program that they're currently looking for candidates for. So again, we just wanted to highlight a few companies. We obviously have thousands of other wonderful companies who are looking to increase their diverse pipeline and their talent, especially that are focused on women hires. So I do encourage you guys again to use the IAW website or Professional Diversity Network or any of our affinity sites for your advantage. The next thing I do want to talk about is Resonate. So a part of, for those of you who do use IAW or PDN, you do have the ability to use a great tool called Resonate once you're logged into your account. And what Resonate is, it will take the job that you're looking to interview or apply for, and you can upload your resume, and the system will score your resume to that job description. So it will actually tell you, here's how your resume ranks in regards to this job description, and it'll give you tips on how you can improve your resume to better fit that job description. So we do encourage you guys to use this tool if you're interested in it as a member of IAW or Professional Diversity Network. As long as you're logged into your account, you can use this particular service unlimited number of times. So you can, if you have 5 different resumes, you can upload all of your resumes and match your various resumes to the types of jobs that you're looking for. And that's a great service or tool for our members. Okay.
Great. Well, wow, thank you so much, Maribel and Emily. That is so much great information. And what I really love about connecting both worlds was taking what Emily really talked about, getting out there, setting your vision, your goals, identifying which jobs, making sure you have the right keywords. Resume tool helps with that. And then it's great too, because the IAW Network is a great network for members to really look and see who they, want to connect with in different places that they're looking for jobs, even if they're on the PDM boards. We will make sure to get that information to you, to all the attendees, so you can sign up for job alerts. We have a program called Get Her Hired, and you can opt in and receive those job alerts. And I do encourage everybody to set up their profiles on their IAW, on the IAW website, because there you can do some great networking. Now, I see questions coming in, so I am going to pass over to Emily to answer them. There's some really good ones in there, actually. So
I know.
They're really exciting.
All right, so I will take a couple of questions now, and I'm going to start with some of the easier ones that I keep getting over and over again. So how do you spell the app for the Tinder type job app? It's Shaper, S-H-A-P-R. Leave out the E, so S-H-A-P-R. So hopefully you guys got that down. But that is a great resource out there, so do use it. Remember that it is location specific. So again, I used the New York-Boston example earlier, but depending on where you are, try to be within like the general city area where you're trying to look for jobs, because it is going to be somewhat based on your radius around those roles. Again, one last time, S-H-A-P-R for Shaper. All right, so someone once told me, always take an interview regardless if you're interested in the role, because the networking is great. How do you feel about it? For the most part, I actually agree with it. I think that, if it's something along the lines of what you're planning to do, the role itself may not be key for you, may not be the exact one. I mean, if you're looking at roles that are in IT project management and you get an opportunity to interview for a history teacher role, I mean, that's not necessarily something you need to spend your time doing, but if it's basically along the lines of what you're looking to do in general, I do think it is a great idea to interview for the networking reason, but also for the opportunity to interview, to practice your actual interviews. So do that. I had a conversation with a client last week that he interviewed for a role up in New York, and he was really excited about the opportunity at the organization, but felt that the pay itself was not going to be in line with what he wanted. So he said he didn't want to continue interviewing for that role, but had to handle it because he liked the organization. So we talked through that, and what I advised him at that point was, take yourself out of the running for that role if they're planning to bring you back, and it sounded like they were, but ask to keep the line of communication open with that hiring manager for future opportunities. He did exactly that, and then they're going to continue talking about other roles. So to at least take a first interview, to make those inroads, to build that connection, test it out, see what you're thinking, do network with that person. That's what you're doing when you're interviewing. And then if you really still feel like the role is not for you, give it a day or two, and then let that person know that while you absolutely appreciate the opportunity to interview, you feel that opportunity is not right for you, but that you would like to continue maintaining the lines of communication open for additional opportunities there. ask for permission to do so, basically, and then, of course, they'll say yes, and you'll be able to do it. So that when you see additional opportunities come online that you think are a better fit there, reach out directly to that person. So yes, please can use interviewing as a way to build relationships and keep lines of communication open. What do you think of using the first person in a resume? I was taught never to do so, but I'm hearing different things about this now. Okay, it's a little complicated, but the basic gist here is that your resume has your name at the top of the document. Therefore, it is already first person. So when you are crafting your content, you're leaving out the I statements. You're not saying, I did this, I did that. You're leaving that part out. It starts with the strong action verb. So instead of, I achieved significant growth via X, Y, and Z, it's achieved significant growth via X, Y, and Z. So again, you're leaving out the actual I statements, but it's still the rest of that particular content should still be crafted with that in mind. I call it the invisible I, or the understood I, because it's there, it's understood, but it's not written in third person, and certainly not written in second person. And I will say this about LinkedIn. LinkedIn is actually a bit different in terms of content. Your content on LinkedIn should be written from first person and should actually include I statements. That's what makes it a little bit less formal and quite a bit different from the resume itself. So yes, it's first person on a resume, but not actually stating those the I statements. Okay, so here is a big question here. Can you suggest ways to address changing a career and a gap in employment? I had a career that I enjoyed before starting a family, and after taking a number of years to raise children, returned to the workplace at an administrative entry level. What is the best way to indicate that your preferred experience, even if it's older? So this is a very situation-specific kind of question, and I'll answer it the best I can for this person, but again, any response I would give is going to be tailored to that individual as it should be. First of all, kudos to you for the hardest job in the world, because being a mom is so super hard. I should know. I have to pick up my 4-year-old in 13 minutes here. So I get it. But I guarantee you that in the time you were raising your children, you were doing hard work. And if you were doing any sort of volunteer work, if you led any big initiatives for your children's school or for any other kinds of extracurriculars, you can speak to that, and you should speak to that. We have had clients where we worked in a head of household type section to show the budgeting and the project management and all of that kind of work, depending on what they're looking to do, in addition to really speaking to the great volunteer leadership work that they've had. So for people who are looking to get back into the workforce, that's something to consider and think about. If you have already started a job back and you are in more of an administrative sector, but you want to move back into something you were doing before children, I'd be curious to know what that sector is, because if you're looking to move back into marketing and you did traditional marketing 10 years ago and now everything is all about digital marketing, we have to be thoughtful about how to present you as having the skill set for that. If you were in project management or in IT or in law or something in finance, again, we need to tailor it to what have you done in recent years that will show your more recent experience and success with that, and really tailor the resume to it, always staying within the realm of accuracy. The other thing that we would talk about is what courses can you take, what ways can you show that you're keeping your skill set up to date. I really highly recommend Lynda, L-Y-N-D-A. Again, L-Y-N-D-A. It is now affiliated with LinkedIn. I think LinkedIn purchased them. Lynda courses are a great way to show that you are keeping your skill set up in a range of different sectors. So we'd want to reference that actually on your resume, and of course reference it again on LinkedIn. And then in that case, it also really, really make sure that you emphasize your network to make sure that people understand what you're looking to do and can make direct connections for you. But how you're going to address it in the resume is going to be very specific to you. And there are definitely key ways to do so. Obviously, I just spoke about them a few ways here. But you can make those changes. I've seen it happen multiple times. It's a matter of, again, being strategic, identifying those achievements that you have, and utilizing your network. Same for everybody. but I am confident you can make that change. Now, I see a lot of questions here regarding LinkedIn. So would love to do a more comprehensive webinar specifically on LinkedIn because it's something that people are asking for. One of the main questions that I'm getting here is, I had a little bit further down, some of the content related questions on LinkedIn. Again, content on LinkedIn should be related more so towards your accomplishments and measurables, but in a different way than the resume. One thing that I think is really relevant to speak about here and something you guys can use as a takeaway, I used this before in the presentation. LinkedIn is an algorithm-based platform, meaning there are specific rules that you need to satisfy in order for your profile to pop up more often. And so some of those main things to keep in mind that you can do right away is having a fully fleshed out profile, having 500 or more connections on there, and that is a real big marker for LinkedIn. Having a profile picture and a banner picture, and actually utilizing LinkedIn day to day. Those are big things that LinkedIn's algorithms look for in order to promote your profile as a search result for people who may be looking for you. I also want to mention on the LinkedIn side that there's 2 different versions of LinkedIn that are the main ones that you want to keep in mind. There's the version you and I have that is essentially free. You sign up for, you can utilize. There is the premium version. You can use it. That's not the second version. It's just the more souped up version of the first one. You do have more access to certain things. The other version of LinkedIn, just to know that it's there, is the recruiter version that companies pay tens of thousands of dollars to have access to. And recruiters, they may be looking for people like you, and the more fleshed out your profile is, the more algorithms it satisfies, the more likely it is that your profile will turn up as a search result for recruiters. So just again, keep in mind there's 2 different versions of LinkedIn, the one that you and I have access to that's free, and then the recruiter version that companies pay a lot of money to have access to. So just a note there and note how to time the algorithms to it. All right, a couple of the name of the book I mentioned again, that is The Art of Self-Promotion. That is by Debbie Stone. And if you literally just Google The Art of Self-Promotion book, it will pop up. It will take you to her website, and you can actually find the book on Amazon to either get a hard copy version or a Kindle version. I have both because I think they're really valuable. But again, The Art of Self-Promotion by Debbie Stone, D-E-B-B-Y, and Stone like a rock. Can I offer some tips regarding job fairs? Absolutely. It's not so different than some of the other stuff I was saying before. Job fairs, kind of like job descriptions, they're great for research. You know who's hiring. They're great for practicing your elevator pitch. They're great for practicing how you're going to answer questions about who you are and what you do. They're really great for networking. They are not great for actually finding jobs. And I want to be very clear about that. It is a rare day where I hear someone actually like walking away from a job fair with an actual job. It's not going to really happen there. What I suggest doing is if you're going to go to a job fair, look in advance to see who's going to be there. Typically, you can find that information out. And if you can't, then once you get there, take a moment to see who's actually there. But think in advance about what kinds of companies and sectors you want to target, and then make a plan to target them. If you know in advance who's actually going to be there, then you can have more time to do this. The goal is to go in with a structured plan of here are maybe 5 to 7 companies. I'm going to make an actual real effort to talk to somebody there. Know the job history or the career, the company history, current events for that company. Be prepared to speak about that. And then introduce yourself, but then ask the people that you're talking to who are representatives of that company, what do you do for the organization? Are you on the hiring side, or are you on the HR recruiting side, or are you actually like in a team function? Ask people what they're doing. Ask them their experience there. Ask them what they think of the sector and the industry as a whole, and let them hear that you're interested in what they have to say. You know, obviously you're talking about yourself and responding strategically based on what they're saying. Make sure to get their contact info. Make a quick note if you get a business card or something like that. Make a note of who you talked to, what you talked about, and then follow up with that person within 24 business hours. Make a point to follow up, make a point to say, it was a pleasure speaking with you. I really enjoyed your talk on, the sector changes that are happening, what's coming down your pipeline at XYZ company. I'd really like a chance to learn more about the organization. Who do you suggest I speak with? Or I applied for X role at your suggestion. I wanted to let you know so you guys can flag it. Would love to learn more about the organization from someone there. Who do you suggest I speak with? Again, career fairs are great for research and for networking, so utilize it for that. Also a great way to practice your informational meeting kind of conversation and your elevator pitch. A couple minutes left, so I'm going to turn it over to Maribel to answer a few questions, and then we'll let Melissa wrap up.
Thank you, Emily. So I know a couple of people, again, were asking for the websites that I mentioned. So for the IAW site, or International Association of Women, that URL or that website is iaw.napw.com. And then Professional Diversity Network, our URL, because our name is so long, is just shortened to PRODIVNET.com. And again, just so that we have, just so we're clear. So I did want to mention, I wanted to highlight a couple of jobs, obviously, because I did see a comment on here about the jobs. We, on Professional Diversity Network and the IAW website, there's a variety of jobs from all across the U.S. and from different types of categories, industries, and levels. So you could even find internship positions to senior level postings, and then just from the various industries across the board. So I guarantee you will find something on the websites. And I think those were the two main questions. Again, my name is Maribel De La Rosa, and I'm from Professional Diversity Network.
Thank you so much, Maribel De La Rosa from Professional Diversity Network. I feel like maybe I jumped over your name, so I apologize if I did that. It's a beautiful name, too. I love it. And thank you so much, Emily Kapit from Refresh Your Step. There are a few more questions that we're going to have, so I'll make sure that we get these answered in a blog post, because there's definitely I even some great ones about like thank you card versus an email after an interview. That's one we all, I think, struggle with. So there are different ones. I think we could even do some blog posts off of these. Sure. Thank you for everyone's really great engagement. There were a couple of other questions that were just more technical. I will make sure that all these slides are emailed to everyone, so you will have them, and you'll have those links that were discussed, and I'll also put links to some of the resources that Emily and Maribel both mentioned. So you will all have that, and we will, based on these questions, we will have some information on LinkedIn. We will definitely make sure we do a follow-up program either in May or June around this. The other thing I would like to mention is I know the question came up about job fairs, and we do actually, Professional Diversity Network does have job fairs. We have one coming up in Minneapolis on, I think, February, Maribel, correct me if I'm wrong, 22nd?
I believe so, yes, because I think it's in a couple of weeks. I know, but you could also, if you just go to Professional Diversity Network, there is a events tab on our site. So if you click on it, because just like Melissa mentioned, we have fairs throughout the U.S., and we actually have a couple of virtual career fairs, which are great because they obviously don't cost you any money to actually travel anywhere. And so we do highlight a couple of those virtual fairs where we focus on STEM, where we focus on bilingual professionals, women. We do have a couple of military virtual fairs as well. So you can find all of the events that we're doing for 2018, both in person and virtual, on our website. And we do try to post the schedule for the following year, like with the last couple of months of the year. So we're constantly doing events, and I'm sure we'll be in a city near you. And awesome. It is February 22nd. You're correct, Melissa.
And it's great. And what we'll do also is we'll make sure we get that that information to you, because Emily outlined some really great stuff, just even for the networking aspect. Even if you're not 100% sure those are the right jobs, it could be the right company. So set your plans. You'll have lots of resources based off of this, and I definitely think I don't want to commit to a timeline, but we'll definitely create an ebook around all this amazing information. Thank you to both of our speakers for everything today, and I'll make sure all the contact information is in email. And thank you to our attendees. Amazing questions and feedback, and just a wonderful, wonderful webinar. Great way to kick off IAW. So thank you, everyone, and have a wonderful, wonderful day.